Discipline is one of the most misunderstood concepts in personal development. Too often it is associated with punishment or a rigid, joyless existence. But in truth, discipline is one of the highest forms of self-love. It is the deliberate decision to choose what is right over what is easy. It's the internal agreement you make with yourself to keep going even when the motivation is gone, even when no one is watching, and even when the rewards feel far away. When you wake up early to go for a run, not because you feel like it, but because you promised yourself you would, that's discipline. When you put in the extra effort to study late into the night, when it would be easier to scroll through your phone or binge a show, that's discipline. These acts might seem small, even mundane, but they are declarations that your future matters. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you're sending a powerful message to yourself that you are worthy of the effort. This kind of self-respect doesn't come from comfort. It's forged in those tough moments when it would be easier to quit, to delay, or to justify why it's okay to lower the bar. The truth is, most people want the rewards but don't want the process. They want the body, but not the workouts. They want the success, but not the sleepless nights. They want the spotlight but not the grind in the shadows. Discipline is what bridges that gap. It's what stands between where you are and where you want to be. It's not about being perfect. Discipline doesn't mean you'll never fall off track. It means you'll always return. You might have a bad day, a bad week, even a bad season. But discipline brings you back. It's a quiet internal force that doesn't care about how you feel right now. It's focused on who you're becoming. There's a kind of power that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. In a world filled with uncertainty, that self-trust becomes a superpower. When you consistently show up for yourself, when you say, "I will," and then actually follow through, you begin to build a foundation of confidence that can't be faked. It's not bravado or arrogance, it's real, earned self-belief, and that's something no one can take from you. Discipline also creates freedom. That sounds like a paradox, but it's true. The more disciplined you are with your time, your habits, and your goals, the more freedom you gain in life. When you control your schedule instead of letting it control you, you're free. When your finances are in order because you were disciplined enough to save and invest, you're free. When your body is healthy because you made the right choices day after day, you're free. Discipline isn't a cage. It's the key that unlocks a life of options. Think about how much time is wasted on indecision, on regrets, on trying to fix what could have been avoided with just a little more foresight. Discipline eliminates that waste. It simplifies your life. It brings clarity because your actions are no longer dictated by emotion or impulse, but by intention. And let's not ignore the emotional strength it builds. Discipline trains you to be emotionally resilient. It teaches you to stay calm when things get hard, because you've already been through the hard. You've already faced down discomfort and moved forward anyway. That mental toughness doesn't come from reading books or listening to podcasts. It comes from doing hard things repeatedly until they become second nature. There's a difference between doing something because you have to and doing it because you respect yourself enough not to let yourself down. When you start viewing discipline as a form of love, not restriction, it transforms everything. Suddenly, that morning workout isn't punishment, it's an investment. That healthy meal isn't a sacrifice, it's a gift. That night spent working on your craft instead of going out isn't missing out, it's choosing in. This mindset shift is powerful, because once you start experiencing the benefits of discipline, the clarity, the growth, the confidence, you realize that nothing was being taken from you. You are gaining something far more valuable, ownership of your life. It's not glamorous, it's not loud. Discipline works in silence. There are no standing ovations for it. No one's clapping when you choose to do the right thing in private. But that's the point. You don't need applause when you're doing it for yourself. The person who practices discipline is someone who thinks long-term. They're not swayed by every emotion or every temptation. They operate from a different place. Their vision is bigger than the moment. They're okay with being misunderstood today if it means being unshakable tomorrow. And that kind of maturity sets them apart in a world that glorifies shortcuts and instant results. There's something noble about sacrificing the easy path for the right path, about carrying the weight most people drop, about rising earlier, staying later, pushing harder, not for approval, not for praise, but because you refuse to settle. Because the standard you hold yourself to isn't dependent on outside validation. It's rooted in the belief that you owe it to yourself to see what you're capable of. And discipline multiplies. It doesn't stay in one area of your life. When You become disciplined in your fitness. It leaks into your work. When you develop consistency in your finances, it impacts your relationships. Discipline builds character, and character drives everything. The way you do one thing becomes the way you do everything. In time, others will notice, not because you told them, but because results speak louder than words. They'll see the quiet confidence, the focus, the stability, and they'll wonder how you built it. But you'll know. It came from the countless invisible decisions you made, when it wasn't convenient, when no one else cared, when quitting would have been easier. Discipline is not a trait you're born with. It's a skill you train. It starts with small, almost insignificant choices repeated daily. Over time, those choices stack up, shaping your identity. You become someone who does hard things, someone who keeps their word, someone who doesn't need to be pushed, because you've learned to push yourself. And once you've built that kind of relationship with yourself, life changes. Not because it gets easier, but because you get stronger. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You stop relying on motivation. You stop blaming and start building. Every day becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. And that's the essence of real power. You sit there watching others succeed, the athletes, the entrepreneurs, the visionaries, and something stirs inside you. That fire, that flicker of inspiration. You feel it. You want it. You see the discipline in their eyes, the power in their stride. And deep down you whisper to yourself, I could be that guy. But then, you do nothing. You keep watching. You stay on the sidelines, applauding the same people who once stood where you are now, unsure, unproven, unseen. And here's the truth that stings. Watching won't change your life. Watching won't make you stronger. Watching won't make you that guy. Every time you put someone on a pedestal, you unknowingly put yourself in a cage. You admire their grind, their mindset, their fearlessness. But what about yours? That potential is not foreign to you. It's not something reserved for a special breed of humans. The raw materials are already within you. The drive, the passion, the hunger. But they mean absolutely nothing if you don't act. Watching is the illusion of progress. It makes you feel like you're learning, growing, preparing. But in reality, you're stuck. Paralysis in disguise. The truth is brutal but necessary. You can't consume your way into greatness. You have to get tired of being a fan. You have to get angry with your own inaction. Because that version of you, the one you see in your mind when the world is quiet, when you dare to dream, that version is waiting. Not for more motivation, not for more time, not for a perfect opportunity, just for you to move. That version of you is waiting for war, the daily, thankless, invisible battles that no one claps for. The 5 a.m. alarms, the grind that makes your bones ache, the discipline that keeps going even when your motivation dies. Because it will. That's what separates those who become and those who just wish. You don't become great by thinking about it. You become great by bleeding for it. By doing the things most people won't, again and again until you start becoming unrecognizable. Not to the world, but to yourself. That's when everything shifts. When you look in the mirror and barely recognize who you're becoming because the old you would have quit by now. The old you would have made excuses. The old you was watching. But the new you? He's different. He's dangerous. He's focused. And he doesn't need applause to keep moving. The gap between who you are and who you want to be isn't talent. It isn't luck. It's work. The work you keep avoiding. The decisions you keep postponing. The pain you keep trying to dodge. That gap can only be crossed by action. Messy, uncomfortable, relentless action. Not tomorrow. Not when life settles down. Now. Because every day you wait, you widen that gap. Every day you hesitate, you strengthen the chains holding you back. And the worst part? No one's going to beg you to break free. It's on you. There are no perfect conditions. There will never be a right time. Life doesn't hand you clarity. You earn it through movement, through failure, through frustration, but most of all through showing up. Every single day, even when you're tired, especially when you're tired, because those are the moments that shape you. Those are the bricks that build legacy. Not the highlights, not the big wins, the grind behind the scenes. That's what forges greatness. You've already spent enough time watching. You've already seen what's possible. Now it's time to ask yourself, what are you going to do about it? Not talk, not plan. Do. Because until you start moving, every ounce of admiration you feel for someone else is just a reflection of the action you're avoiding. You're not clapping for them, you're crying out for you, for the part of you that knows this isn't enough, that you were meant for more than just being a spectator in your own life. It doesn't matter how late you start, it doesn't matter who's ahead of you. What matters is how badly you want it and how far you're willing to go when no one is watching. Because the real work is silent, it's ugly, it's painful, but that's where transformation lives. In the moments no one sees, in the reps no one counts, in the discipline no one claps for. And once you learn to love that, to embrace the process without needing recognition, that's when you truly begin to change. You don't need to be louder, you don't need to post about it, you don't need more validation, you need obsession. You need consistency. You need to look at yourself in the mirror and admit that where you are isn't enough. Not because you aren't good, but because you aren't finished. The real enemy isn't fear, it's comfort. And the longer you stay in it, the more you forget what you're capable of. The more you accept mediocrity as normal. You weren't born to watch. You weren't built to settle. Everything you admire in others is a reminder of what's dormant inside of you. The fire, the grit, the unshakable will, it's all there. But it needs fuel. And that fuel doesn't come from comfort. It comes from movement, from action. From a decision you make every single day to stop waiting and start becoming. Because the clock is ticking and no one is going to hand you the life you want. You're not missing a secret. You're not behind. You're just hesitating. And hesitation kills potential. Every second you spend watching is a second you could have been building, becoming, evolving. You've got the vision. Now earn the reality. Be the one who sets the standard, not the one who studies it. Be the one who others watch in awe. Not because you wanted attention, but because you were too busy working to notice them looking. Discipline is often misunderstood as a restrictive force, something that cages spontaneity or freedom. But in its truest form, discipline is a powerful declaration of self-worth. It is not about punishment or harsh routines. It's about respect. Choosing discipline means choosing to honor your future self. It is the daily decision to delay short-term pleasures in favor of long-term fulfillment. Every time you wake up early to pursue a goal, push through discomfort to finish a task, or say no to distractions, you're making a statement. I believe in myself enough to do what's hard today for who I want to be tomorrow. At its core, discipline is the highest form of self-love. While comfort and indulgence may feel like acts of kindness, they often come at a cost. Lost time, unfulfilled, dreams, eroded confidence. On the other hand, when you hold yourself accountable, when you demand more from yourself, when you resist the pull of laziness or fear, you are investing in your own potential. That's real love. It's saying, I won't let myself fall short of what I know I can become. In the moments when you feel like quitting, when excuses sound louder than your ambition, that's when discipline becomes essential. Motivation may come and go. Some days you'll feel unstoppable. Other days you'll want to crawl back into bed. But discipline is the quiet voice that speaks even when you're exhausted or disheartened. It doesn't ask how you feel. It just says, get up, do the work, be who you said you would be. It's not loud or flashy, it's consistent, steady, and unwavering. That's why it's so powerful. Living with discipline builds something deeper than success. It builds identity. The more you keep your word to yourself, the more you begin to trust yourself. You stop being someone who merely dreams, and you become someone who executes. It changes the way you see yourself. No longer a victim of circumstances or emotion, you become the architect of your future. You stop reacting to life and start designing it. It's easy to romanticize dreams, but discipline is the tool that makes them real. You can wish for a better body, a better career, a better life, but if your actions don't align with those desires, they'll never materialize. Wanting is easy. Acting every day, especially when it's inconvenient, is what separates those who achieve from those who merely talk. Discipline bridges that gap. It turns hope into habit, and habit into transformation. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. Discipline requires patience. Results don't show up on day one. In fact, they often don't appear when you think they should. There are long stretches where the work feels invisible, where progress is internal and subtle. That's when many give up, assuming that nothing is working. But that's when discipline is most crucial. It keeps you grounded in action, even when your efforts don't seem to bear fruit. Because deep down, you know that change is taking place where slowly, silently, but inevitably. Every disciplined choice you make becomes a vote for the person you're becoming. Skip the junk food today. Vote for your health. Push through that workout. Vote for your strength. Stay focused on your work instead of scrolling through your phone. Vote for your ambition. Each vote builds momentum, shaping your character one choice at a time. Over weeks, months, and years, these tiny decisions compound into something extraordinary. You wake up one day and realize you've become the person you once only dreamed of being. Discipline also protects your mind. In a world full of noise, endless opinions, constant comparisons, and instant gratification, discipline creates a quiet space of focus. It centers you. It reminds you of what really matters. While others drift from one distraction to another, wondering why their lives feel unfulfilled, you stay rooted in purpose. That clarity is rare, and it's powerful. When you live with intention, when your actions are aligned with your values, you stop chasing validation. You're no longer pulled by trends or the need to impress others. You live on your terms, guided by your mission. Of course, discipline isn't about perfection. You'll stumble. You'll miss workouts, break routines, make bad decisions. But discipline teaches you to get back up, to not let one misstep become a spiral. It's about persistence, not flawlessness. Discipline says, yes, you slipped, but the standard doesn't change. The work still matters. The goal is still there. Let's keep going. And that resilience, that refusal to let failure define you, is what builds grit. There's also a quiet dignity in living with discipline. You don't need to announce your effort. You don't need to prove anything to anyone. The results will speak. People may not understand the early mornings, the sacrifices, the missed parties, or the relentless drive. But they'll see the strength, the growth, the success, and they'll respect it. More importantly, you'll respect yourself. You'll carry a quiet pride that comes from doing what others weren't willing to do. The world often praises talent and luck. But the truth is, talent without discipline is wasted, and luck favors the prepared. Discipline is what turns average into exceptional. It's what allows someone without obvious advantages to outwork and outlast everyone else. It's the equalizer, the person who shows up every single day, regardless of mood, circumstances, or outcome, will always outperform the person who works only when they feel like it. When life gets hard, and it will, discipline is what steadies you. Emotions fluctuate. Circumstances change, people disappoint. But if you've built your life on discipline, you have something solid to stand on. You've trained yourself to keep going no matter what. You've learned to prioritize the mission over the mood, and that makes you unstoppable. In the end, discipline is freedom. It frees you from regret, from mediocrity, from the guilt of knowing you could have done more. It allows you to look in the mirror and say, I gave it everything. And that kind of peace, the peace of knowing you lived with integrity and purpose, is worth every sacrifice.